Alright, hey everybody, switching gears a little bit right now. I've got an old Ford F-1. I've actually got two of these things. Something about these old trucks, especially this one, something that pisses me off. It's not necessarily evident all the time, it doesn't show up on all the trucks, but it shows up on mine, and more often than not, it's probably on yours too. Sagging or droopy door handles. They just look terrible. I'm going to try to fix them today. There's a couple of things to them, and I think I know what I should do. Anyway, let me show you what the thing is, why it pisses me off, and then we'll tear one apart and see if we can't fix it. So, here we go. Alright, this handle should be horizontal, should be like that. Now, mine isn't completely bolted in, but this, so even when this stays, you know, the handle droops a little bit. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is when I close the door, now it droops even more. And look at that. This just, imagine this thing rattling around, going down the road, you know, making all kinds of noise. I mean, it still actuates, still does what I need it to, but it goes from here, when I close the door, it droops about another ½ inch. Really pisses me off. So, we're going to take one apart and see if we can fix it. Alright, here we go. This is the door latch mechanism. The wrong way. Anyway, this is actually for the passenger side. This little thing where the latch comes on the inside. Latch. So this thing's in pretty decent shape. They were kind of rusty. My buddy Lou, he put them in a bath of molasses when he had a whole bunch of stuff done. Anyway, kept them in molasses for several days. Stripped all the old rust off of them, and then he sprayed some lithium and stuff on them just to keep them good, keep them from flash rusting. Well, anyhow, this door, this spring was completely broken. So this was free to just, you know, fall in, fall out, do whatever. So the door would never stay closed. I bought new springs, I put them in, I thought that would fix the sagging handle issue. It didn't. This thing here still, it still sags. Now, I think what's wrong is underneath this plate, there's like a spacer here that's got that kind of hard to see, but it's got an odd star shape, and then there's a square inside there. So first off, that square, and this is where the door handle comes through. I've got a door handle. There we go, yeah. Alright. So this is how it would be on the truck. Door handle goes in that square. Now there's a little bit, just a little bit of wiggle on this one. The other one's a little bit worse, I think, but I think we can true up that hole so it's a lot, fits a lot tighter on this shaft. I actually have, for this particular one, this handle is, it's all kinds of bent. So I bought a new handle. It's a lot shinier than the old one, but it goes in, and this shank actually fits that square pretty tight. So there's nowhere near as much play from the get-go. So I don't have to do too much to this particular one. The driver's side, though, I definitely have to get in there and mess with that square. But what happens, from what I figured, is when the door shuts, let me get my big fat thumbs and everything else out of over here. When the door shuts, this latch has to go in and it hits the striker. And when it settles, when the door is actually closed, it's in about, I don't know, 1/4 inch or so. Now watch this. This is where that droopy handle stuff comes in. So this one wasn't that bad, so now it's good and firm. As soon as this sets in, because it can't extend all the way inside the door, it leaves some slop. And I think there's some areas inside here to true this thing up. So what we got to do is we're taking apart this cover, and this cover has a knob there and one, it's either here or right up here. Anyway, this one and this one right here. Check, check, yeah. So these two tabs I need to bend up. That cover should come off, and those two pieces should come out. So let me try to get that done. Alright, here we go. It doesn't look like this job's going to be that bad. Once again, I'm doing this little thing right here, and then this one over here. So I was able to get under with a screwdriver just enough. Actually pry it up a little bit as is, and then just kind of get it in the hole and work it. Came up easy peasy. Hopefully this one will be the same. Not sure if I can get that on the camera here. Watch the screwdriver fly into my hand. That's the kind of luck I've been having today. Close. Alright. There we go. Got some purchase on it now. Set of lineman pliers. A little bit at a time. Like Lazzy. Just a little bit. Alright. Yeah, if you don't know who Lazzy is, he's a metal shaper. Swedish guy. Little bit. That's what he says all the time. Alright. Got those straightened out. That plate ought to be able to just pry on up now. Bing. There it is. So there's the cover. Here's the one square thing with the kind of square, weird shaped hole. Not too worried about this guy. I think it's just really a spacer. This is the guy. Oof, a lot of spring pressure on that. Yeah. Alright, well. There it is. Alright. This is the one that I was worried about. Now, I think that what it is, let's see, oh, here it is. This pawl right here. This doesn't look that bad. It doesn't look nearly as worn as I thought it would be. Come on, focus. Alright, so I figured that this would be a lot more worn off, a lot less shapely than it is. And also, it's really going to be kind of hard to see, but it contacts, there we go, it contacts this thing right here, and that's a little bit worn down. It's not too bad. It's worn down on the just that one side, so golly, really hard to get a good shot of this. Anyway, this thing sits in there, and that's down there, and it turns, and okay, well, it doesn't turn when it's locked. Let me get the lock thing undone. There we go. Now it's unlocked. There's the paw, and there we go. So that's where I'm trying to fix. I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to add some weld to that, file it square, and then I'm going to pull this out. So there's a couple more tabs I have to take off for this. It's these two tabs right here, which will release this spring. That's another spring as well. This adds tension to this release, and this is for the actual door handle itself. That's what moves it, so pretty cool little deal. This is on there. This gets pushed by this, and that's actually to lock it. Sorry, that's the lock. To open it, now that looks like something else I'm going to have to address. To open it, those two little pieces right there that touch, that goes, and this little itty bitty tang in there, it looks pretty worn. So I might try to add some weld to that, try to re-square it back up, try to make sure it'll last another 70 years. But I'm going to have to take the spring out first, because this whole thing's under a lot of pressure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pry these open, pull the spring out. It's really not that bad of a job. I'm going to pry it open with a chisel. That's how I did it the first time. There we go. It's open. Give it a little twist. And then just kind of get that spring out of there. And getting these in is a lot harder than getting them out, I'll tell you that. So I'm going to get these off and pull this thing out, and I'll get back in a sec. Alright, I got the locking piece off, which kept these two in. A little bit of an issue with it. It'd be kind of hard to see here. Anyway, a little bit of a crack there. a little bit more of a crack on this one here. So when I put these in, most likely these are going to snap off. Not the end of the world. Just jam a tack weld on the back of this. You know, the chances of this thing coming back apart in the next 70 years, slim to none. Besides, these things are available. They're just more than I want to spend right now. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and fix them up. And a lot of you guys out there may not want to buy new parts. So hope this little tutorial can help you out. Like I said, this one really isn't that bad. I'll show you the wear. Now this is from the inside rod. This little piece right here, not a whole lot left of that. So we're going to build that up, square it off a little bit, and it mates up against this piece, which right there, which is in pretty good shape, honestly. They sit like this, and you know, that's where the wear is. It's really not that bad. Now I'll show you the other side. This right here is for the outside latch. Now I'm pretty surprised that this is even still a 90-degree bend. Usually, from what I hear, that 90 snaps all the way off, which allows this piece to just kind of go right behind it, and then not make much contact at all. Mine are in pretty good shape, probably because this is a passenger door. I guess the passenger door probably didn't get used as much as the driver door. I know that my driver's one is way shot. So I'm going to walk through the process of rebuilding these, and then I'll just take some quick clips of the driver's side one before and after, just so you can see the disparity between those. So anyway, remember how I showed you that as soon as you pull the latch in a little bit, this gets loose? And I think why is because when the latch goes in a little bit, it creates some room there. I think that amount of room is what's actually been taken out of this over the years. So what I'm going to do is, you know, say this piece is about 1/4 inch wide, and it's a little under that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to weld it and build it up and make it thicker than it is. So that way, when I close the door and this pushes back a little bit, it won't actually be pushing back at all, because it'll start at this position. It'll start at the position of the wider one, and if it pushes back just a little bit, then this won't be as apt to turn and fall. So basically this ground down enough that it allowed this to stick out farther than it should, and then when it closed it came in and left slop in the handle. If that makes sense. I hope it does. Anyway, if not, then you know, this is my first time doing it too. Like I said, man, we're gonna make it or we're gonna break it. So let's break out the torch and get to welding. I'm probably going to TIG weld all this just because I got the TIG set up and running, stuff I was doing earlier today. Now you could MIG this, absolutely, that would be a whole lot easier. And maybe I will do that, just, I don't know, I'm going to throw a few tacks on with the TIG, and if it doesn't seem to be building up metal fast enough, then I'm going to switch over to the MIG. So let me get that set up. Alright, so here are the parts I welded up. I did go ahead and do the, of course the new macro. I did go ahead and weld up the square a little bit. I was kind of concerned about that. Here's the part that I built up on this piece. Didn't build up anything there, but that's where this attaches to, so I built that up some, and then also built this up quite a bit. It did kind of leak down onto the back there. Not terribly worried about that because nothing touches that backside anyway. What I wanted to build up was this front. Make sure it's just got a good, nice, deep pattern to it. I think it looks pretty good. Anyway, I'm going to go to work. I've got some files, I've got some Dremels, I've got a flap disc. I've got a lot of work ahead of me. But I will get back when I'm done shaping these things. Alright, I got this junk ground down. So there's that thing. The hole is nice and square. It fits very tight on the new door handle. I went ahead and I made sure that it was in the orientation of being the door, that the door handle was, that way in case there was any unsquareness, you know, I made sure that it fits the way it needs to. So, you know, use a technique. I highlighted the sides that need to be highlighted. It fits very tight on there, which is good. So, that's the thing. It's a little bit thicker than it was. Should work pretty well. It seats down in there nicely. This piece right here, a little bit taller than it was. Looks kind of ugly, looks kind of stupid, but it doesn't hang up, it doesn't drag anywhere. It fits in there like that. And this piece here, same thing. There's a bunch of extra weld like on the back side of it, but nothing touches that. It's square, it's smooth on the front. It's built all the way down. This fits in here like that. And, you know, everything works as it should. This rotates and opens that. This here pulls back, attaches that. So, and this locks the door when you push that way. So, I'm going to set this camera down so I can use both of my hands, all my digits, and put the rest of this crap back together, and hopefully not break the tabs off of anything. But like I said, if I do, I'll jam a tack weld on it and call it a day. So, I'll return when it's in one piece. Alright, so everything's back together. Everything slides smoothly. Works really well. I put some, it's a garage door spray lubricant. I put some of that in there. It's a dry film. Should work pretty good. You want to make sure that this doesn't get too tight, or else this will kind of, it'll hang up on you. Mine was too tight. I went through. I actually was able to bow it up a little bit with the screwdriver. Anyway, I think that what I did is going to work. It's probably going to be hard to get it on the camera here, but the latch used to sit firmly into this rubber piece, and right now there's actually a gap right there. So by widening that piece with the weld, by building it up, I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, which was to let this sit back a little bit more, so that way it's not all the way out and then you close the door and it comes back this way and now there's slop. So it's already in the back position a little bit. That should reduce or eliminate most, if not all, of the sag in the door handles. Anyway, enough about that. Gotta get the spring back in. This thing can be a real bugger. So, I'll show you how to do that. This little zigzaggy part sits underneath and up against here. As you can see, these don't line up, but this needs to live in there, and I need to preload it by turning it this way, clockwise. So, what works for me is to grab a pair of pliers. Really, any old pair of pliers will do as long as they can fit and grip this. Now, it doesn't go all the way down to the end. You can see the pliers kind of stop. You want that, because what's going to happen is you're going to preload it and you're going to try to slide the little bit that you have there into that slot as like a placeholder so you can push the spring the rest of the way down. So, sounds easy, and it really is, actually. So, the hardest part is getting the spring where you need it to be. And by that, but I mean underneath this is what I mean by where it needs to be. Sorry, I know my hand's blocking most of this. Alright, so there we go. I was able to get it on with the pliers. Notice it's not all the way down because that's kind of where the pliers took it to, was to that spot right there. Now, you can take any old thing that you want to go ahead and push that down. Let's use the pliers. Bridge that gap. Push it down. You can use a screwdriver, your hand, and kind of give it a few whacks. Make sure it gets all the way down to where it needs to be. Now, you'll want to grab some big pliers. I got a pair of lineman pliers here. You just want to squeeze the tops of these together, just enough so that spring can't come back out. And there we go. Easy peasy. Spring works. Latch works. We're getting to install this thing. Alright, I've installed the door regulator into the door. Put my brand new handle on there. Not completely though. I haven't put the gasket in, and the screw that holds it to the door is also not in place. It's just on there, so it's a little loose, but it works. Here's where the handle is, and shut the door. It's where the handle stays. Any bit of wiggle is pretty much because it's just not tightened to the door, but door handle doesn't drop, doesn't droop, doesn't do what it used to. I do kind of wish it was 100% parallel to the ground like that, but it doesn't look like I'm going to get that. And you know, as long as it's not down here like you see on way too many of these old trucks. They sit at like 45 degrees, and that's just unsat. So I'm happy with it. I'm gonna get on to doing the other one. Like I said, I'll take some quick video of how bad the things are worn on the other side, but we'll just have some cuts to that, and we'll see how the other one turns out. Okay, so right off the bat here, I can see that this one is a lot more worn than the other one was. Remember how I got the other one off that rubber padding? Well, this one is all the way in there. Last time on the other side, gosh, really hard to see, but the back side of this was about flush with this right here. You can see it's about an 1/8, 3/16 of an inch off, give or take, which means I expect that that is how much of this mechanism is ground away. So we're going to build it back up, make it a good thickness. Should pull this whole thing back a little bit. That way when it goes in the truck and the door shuts, this doesn't push back, that doesn't fall. You know the drill. Anyway, I'm going to get to breaking this thing down, and I'll show you the parts here in a second. Alright, I got this main plate off, and I've adjusted this so that the back of this is even with here, which is where it's supposed to be. Let me go ahead and zoom in and show you. Just look at how much of that is missing. So I'm going to build up weld and take up all the slack. So this thing's going to end up about 1/8 of an inch wider than it is already, and that should cure these sagging handles. So kind of sucks. It's a lot of work, but I think the appearance of the truck in the end, something that you see every single day when you walk up to it, is droopy door handles. It just doesn't look that good. So all this work definitely going to pay off. Wish I had new rubber pieces up here, but really not a big deal because it shouldn't ever contact that again, because it'll be contacting this instead. Like I said, took almost 70 years to wear down this far. Should take just as long to wear down the next time. So not too worried about having a little bit of rubber being gone. So I'm going to get to it. And actually on this one, I want to show you this. This latch doesn't need to be built up that much. It's doing pretty good. And then the inside of here also, where are you? There we go. It also looks really, really good. So I'm not going to worry about taking this off to pull this whole piece out, because everything looks as good as it needs to. So I'm just going to worry about this one piece right here. I'm also going to do the thing where I weld this in and file it to fit the actual square of the door handle that I have. So I'm going to get to it, and I'll let you know when I'm done. Alright, here's the driver's regulator. I got it all put back together. Didn't break any tabs. Didn't have to weld anything back together on the back. Again, all I welded was the one piece that was in there. Filed the whole square again. You can see that used to be pushed up all the way against there. And this was about an 1/8 or 3/16 of an inch that way. So I leveled it up with the back of this, which is where I did the passenger side. Now there's a lot more room there. The spring is back in. Everything still actuates smoothly, and I'm getting ready to put it on the door. And let's see if we've got that saggy handle. Well, here it is, my moment of truth. This already looks better. The handle is parallel to the body lines. No slop at all. Nothing. Not one single bit. Remember when I closed it before, it dropped by about 1/2 inch? Let's check it out. Look at that. Nothing. No wiggle, no slop. Good to go. Just the way it should be. Shit. It's good as new. So many years later. Alright. Well, what's next?